if ever you wondered, why does this guy get an OBE? The scale of the problem. I was responsible for putting the first optical fibre cable across the Atlantic. And from a standing start, it took us 6 years. And I had a team of a couple of thousand people, and one of the best experiences of my life. But all my life, I've been educating and training people in engineering, science and technology and mathematics to solve difficult problems. And I learned a few things, and what I'm going to tell you this morning applies in part, or if not in whole, to politics, to warfare, to the Middle East, to everything. So I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey, and it goes like this. For the vast majority of our history as a species, we've been struggling with inadequate technology, and now the technology is arriving faster than we can actually consume it. And it has another characteristic. You weren't going to get metals until you invented fire. And until you got metals, you couldn't build a machine. And until you build a machine, you couldn't have an industrial revolution. And until you got that, you couldn't have a telegraph network and a telephone network and integrated circuits and all the stuff we now enjoy. So technology is a ratchet. It goes one way, exactly like evolution. You're not going to get an elephant going backwards to being a mouse. Okay, that chain, it goes in one direction only. And what has happened with technology is we've lived off it. So if we close down all the technology on this planet, we'd probably see something of the order of 200 to 500 million people living, the rest would die. Because without the technology, there would be no food, no water, no waste treatment, no clothing, no nothing. And the way I think about technology is, it's that stuff that doesn't quite work properly yet. So my car used to be technology, but now it isn't. My laptop is still technology because it's still a little bit difficult, but gradually my mobile phone isn't becoming technology. And give you a scale of the change, exponential change. I was born into a home without electricity, with a toilet down the yard. My daughters were born, we had black and white TV. My first son was born, we had colour TV and VHS, and he saw the first computer arrive at home. But my youngest son was born with everything, just in one lifetime. So here's exponential. Politicians use two words, a quantum leap, which they get absolutely wrong. Quantum leap is the infinitesimally smallest change that you could make, but actually it's right in the context of probably what they achieve. And the other one is exponential, and they really don't get exponential. So the classic example is you take a chessboard, you get a grain of rice, you put 1 on square 1, 2 on square 2, 4 on square 3, and so on. By the time you get to the last square on this chessboard, we cannot grow enough rice over a 2-year period on this planet to fill that last square. Now, we don't think like that. Even people in my profession who profess to understand exponentials, we get surprised. So here's another one. This year, we're going to kick out more information than our race, our species has created in the past 5,000 years. And next year, we're going to do it again. These are numbers that are sort of defy our thinking. Here's one that's easy to grasp, but hard to believe. If you take a single cell and you start splitting it, then 39 splits later you've got a baby, and 44 splits later you've got me. This is out of all proportion. What does it mean? It means I'm stood here with more computing power in my pocket than when I was on this planet in 1956. And in 10 years' time, I'll have 1,000-fold that power in my pocket. Now, what it's done for us is quite astonishing. I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, that this is what is going wrong right now. We get very, very complicated problems, and we elicit simple solutions, and it goes badly wrong. And I'm going to explain why it does that, and I'm going to do it via a varied route. So all the simple solutions to complex problems, without exception, are always wrong. So, failing sustainability. Our policy is we take our industries, we make them more and more efficient, we save money, we save material, and this is contributing to the sustainable future. Wrong. We'll recycle, reuse and repurpose everything. This will save us. Nope. And then, of course, we're going to do green energy solutions, and that ain't going to do it either. What these do is put off the day of death. These put off the crisis for longer and longer, but they do not cure the basic problem. And I'm going to give you some solutions that I think will. So I'm going to start by classifying systems like this. A simple system might be a light switch, a tire lever, a nut and bolt, a bicycle. These are things that are easy to understand, they're easy to design, they're easy to make and maintain. And what we want them to do, what we ask them to do, the requirements, they actually do it. All the laws of physics work and the mathematics works. Then we get complicated systems. These are a dog to design. Inside a turbine, you grow the blades from a single crystal of metal. The blades are hollow so you can pump coolant through, so you can operate them 20 degrees above the melt temperature. There's many, many aspects. So you have huge teams working on them. So these are difficult to define and build, but they behave themselves. The mathematics mostly works, and the laws of physics do apply. Then we get complex systems. Life is a complex system. All the stem cell researchers are getting fantastic results without a clue how things work. We have no idea how stem cells do their job, but it doesn't mean to say we can't use them. So here it is. This is the problem in a nutshell. This is a network that I've chosen. It could be the human brain. It could be a social network. We don't understand how these work. The mathematics we have no longer works. Any mathematicians in the audience? One or two? Okay, you will know. We can't solve problems beyond about order 5. And then even at order 5, they're not so good. But there are no general laws. We have no general solutions. And so here's an interesting problem. This is meme propagation, an idea. How does it go out across the network? And this was computed in the first place for a pandemic. So this is people dying in another domain. This is people not surviving. This is how disease spread. Could be flu. They all follow the same general pattern. But you know what? You can't predict precisely what's going to happen. You have to run computer simulations like this over and over and over until you get some kind of general feel for it. But if it's a meme, some places the meme will stick and it will be taken up. In other places it won't. So this is difficult stuff. So let's have a look. I was asked recently by a bunch of students, if I was to start my life again, where would I go? And I would go right here, right at that cusp of biotech, nanotech, and artificial intelligence. This is the hotspot of the future. We have to start engineering, designing things where we can recycle as close to 100% of raw material as possible and use absolute minimum energy. And we're making quite good strides. Things like this are now being printed. The great thing is the material can be recycled, it's not wasted, but best of all, you don't have to waste time assembling. It comes out of the printer good to go. You can make a gearbox that's printed, assembled and ready. It saves huge amounts of energy, but best of all, it saves huge amounts of material. But it doesn't stop there. These piece parts for a human being on the left have been printed. They've not been implanted yet. They've been put in rats, and they're actually better vertebral discs than we were given. And on the right there, you see a breathing lung. Again, not implanted yet, but gradually we're starting to manufacture stuff in both organic and inorganic materials, and interestingly, a mix of both. So a contest you're going to have in your lifetime, looking at all the young people, is, would you like a new heart that's entirely organic, or would you like a hybrid? Or would you like a fully mechanical one? Of course, the price will go up as you go towards the organic, because it'll be the better one. This, it seems inconsequential, but it has a really sort of important part to play. This is a sensor. This sensor is orders of magnitude more sensitive than a dog's nose. Here's a sort of question I always ask, very simple question. Why is my nose above my mouth? You know, you could have, if you were engineering a human being, you'd put the nose anywhere you like. Why would you put it above your mouth? And the answer is, it's your last defense mechanism before you put something bad in your mouth. And so in the food industry, people are now using sensors to monitor our food to make sure that it is fresh. But best of all, you can actually smell people with cancer and other diseases. The pheromones that we give off give clues as to our state of health. So there is something happening. We hear all the time about the national health in the UK and how it needs more money, and actually what is happening everywhere. In the United States, they spend over 20% of the GDP on health, and it's falling apart. So this is what's going to happen to health. All the stuff that's in the hospital is migrating gradually to your doctor's office, and all the stuff in your doctor's office is migrating to your bathroom cabinet. And this is not spoof, this is real. This little boy is ill, and he's got effectively the Star Trek Bones scanner looking at him and diagnosing the disease. Now, the only spoof bit about this is, at the current time, that scanner is twice the size of this stage. It's got to be miniaturized a bit. And I remember a long time ago, when I was in British Telecom, we demonstrated the world's first 3G telephone, and it was the size of an American refrigerator. And my final remarks were, and so, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to shrink it down to this size. And all the guys in the press said, yeah, right. But it's here. So it's just a question of time before these things come to you, and you will be looking after your own health. We have a very limited capacity to do stuff. We cannot cope. Let me give you an idea. If all the human race had worked 24 hours a day on trying to decode the genome, we would have been at it for more than a lifetime, and it would have been wrong. And now you can get your genome characterized, decoded in a few hours, and it'll cost you about $500. They're now working on the protein stack. That's about 1,000 times more complex. And then they've got to work on the communication between genome and protein. I'm going to give you a guess that cancer is a communications problem between genome and protein. If we could understand that, we may be able to program it out. But here is what it is. It's an intellect amplifier. It is going to allow anticipatory search, something that monitors what you're doing and says, actually, in a minute you're going to need this, and puts it in front of you. It allows us to do modeling and decision support on a scale that's absolutely phenomenal. Now, let me give you again an indication of the acceleration. In 1997, you may well have remembered Gary Kasparov being wiped out by IBM Deep Blue. And people got very upset about it, a machine playing a better game of chess than us. And the commentators said, well, it's only a bunch of algorithms. But you know what? So are we. Chess players are a bunch of algorithms. Now, 2011, another machine, IBM Watson, took out the American world champion. When we have a world championship, we invite other nations. But the American world champion in general knowledge, in a game called Jeopardy. By 2012, IBM Watson was doing reasonable diagnoses of illness in human beings. By 2013, it was surpassing human beings and was deployed into the American healthcare system on trials. And this year, IBM have made the APIs public, and it's going to be an app that will be on your mobile phone, and then it will be up to the professions to make that thing work for us. So, it's got a natural language I/O, and unlike Hollywood, who like to hurtle down the line of this is the end, human beings are going to be wiped out, the machines will be smarter than us, we're all going to die, I don't think so. That has been the case forever, and this is a different view. No, this is the beginning. So let me explain to you why. Suppose tomorrow morning you not feel very well, you go down to see your GP, you sit down in front of them, and they only just graduated yesterday. Think on this, 50% of everything they were taught and understand is wrong. Such is the speed of research development and knowledge build in their profession. If you're a marine biologist, the half-life is about 3 months. In my profession, it's not a lot more than 6 months. So I spend all my time reading technical stuff and trying to keep up. I will never read a book again. I will never read a book again. I cannot afford to waste 5 hours reading a book. So I have a special technique. Somebody says to me, have you read a book? And I say, no, you should. I say, well, what's in it? And they tell me. I just save 5 hours. Works every time. So this is a challenge. So just put this in perspective. The machines decoded the genome. They're working on the proteins because we can't do it. They actually design the chips in here, not people, because they're too complex for us. We can't do that. And they manufacture the products. We don't have the visual acuity or the manual dexterity to build a mobile phone or anything else. We may clip the cover on, we do the clumsy stuff, but we don't do the intricate stuff. And so the machines are becoming incredibly powerful in research. What interests me is the way they empower the individual, the way we make us stronger, the tool that makes us far more capable than we were before. So here's a kind of interesting question. Why do we employ people? Well, the answer is because they're cheaper than robots right now. And the second part is because people can do stuff robots can't. But that line is changing very quickly. But believe me, we are going to need electricians and carpenters and bricklayers and people who put stuff together for a long, long time. That's not going away. But some jobs will be going away. So here's an interesting way of looking at farming. You've seen people putting rice into paddy fields, and right now I live in farming country, where the tractors are now driverless, the computers drive the tractor, and absolutely straight lines, and the seed gets thrown in, and the irrigation is done with the aid of satellite imaging, so it's put into the right part of the field, and so it is with the pesticides and everything else. But these things go along as a team. Bore a hole, put in the seed, squirt it with some agent, kill the weeds, and so on. I don't know whether that's going to come to fruition. Here's a trial. You. I was born far too early. This is getting really exciting. You're going to see about 1,000 times more change than I have in my life. I'm not quite sure which quarter I'm in, but I suspect it's the 4th quarter. I have a living ambition that when I die, my laptop will be proud of me. Just a thought. So here are the cookies of life. Jobs lost in my lifetime. A lot of the young people are going to go, huh? A lot of the old people say, yeah, I remember those days. So here's a few. Typing pool, typists, gone. Dockers, milkman, blacksmiths, secretaries, drawing office. The Xerox operator, the computer operator. All of these people have gone. In your lifetime, these are all going to go. My favorite is the investment banker. Who are you going to trust? Some human being who wants to buy another swimming pool, another car, or a computer that's just dedicated to helping you make the best of your financial situation? Go to a modern warehouse, you find that there's nobody there. It's all robotic. Train drivers has been amazing to me that they've survived so long. You know, and people, we are very strange, aren't we? We get in an elevator and press a button and we'll go up and down at 30 miles an hour, that's no problem. But if you say the train has got no driver and is going horizontal at 30 miles an hour, I think it's different somehow. Let me tell you, if it keeps going at 30 miles an hour vertical, pretty much the same accident. So let's just have a look. These are going to be enhanced. These people are going to see their jobs amplified. Their capability will go through the roof. They are going to be handed tools the like of which we could only dream for. And then, jobs to come. And here's a list, and that people usually get hooked on the wisdom archivist, you know. And it's a kind of interesting things. A lot of the things that we believe and have been so all our lives turn out to be wrong. So, knowledge is power. I will hold on to information. No, that's the world that's gone. Sharing knowledge makes you influential. Being influential is more important than being powerful. This is a very long list. I've just put a few up here. Risk profilers. Human beings are very, very poor at assessing risk. What I've just shown you is real. There's no spoof. There's no lies. You can go out and see it in the research labs. We can predict with great accuracy when the technology is coming over a 5-year period, because everything you're going to buy and use in 5 years already exists. Over a 10-year period, about half of it exists, and after the 10-year period, we're sort of guessing. We roll out technology. Google Glass is a good example. 25-year-old technology, had several goes. Will it stick? Will people find value? The Apple Watch, will people wear it? Will they find value? Nobody knows. You may or may not know that text was never a telephone service. Texting was put on these things by engineers who were installing networks so they could send messages. The facility was discovered by a few kids, and whoosh, a new service was born. You can never predict what people do. Ladies and gentlemen, up there is my homepage. You will find about 50 presentations that you can download, about 1,200 printed papers and blogs and articles, and you're welcome to do what you like with them. When I was a research student, my professor said to me, Mr. Cochrane, should you steal one man's results, that is plagiarism. But if you steal 10 men's results, that's research. So my advice is to you, get out there, do some research, take what you wish off my homepage, but best of all, if we don't get to talk today and something is bugging you, my contact details are on, or I'll give you a business card. You email me, I'll engage in a dialogue with you, and let's see where it goes. Been a great audience. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.